Stop wasting money on those ridiculous matchmaking services. That's what our protagonist tells her mom at the start of this manhwa. She explains that the money her mom keeps spending could be better used for something practical, like buying a new outfit or getting something enjoyable. Our protagonist is really frustrated and makes it clear that she's had enough of seeing her mom throw money away like this. She insists that this should be the last time her mom spends money on such things and hopes her mom will listen and stop. Her mom says it's fine and pushes her out of the house. As she steps outside, she thinks about why her mom keeps spending all her hard-earned money on these pointless matchmaking services. She tells her mom that she's really not interested in getting married, but her mom never seems to listen. While walking away, she thinks at least the weather is nice today. The guy starts talking and says that he's the oldest son in his family. He explains that once he gets married, he plans to take care of his parents. He wants a wife who will focus on their family life and not just her career. He goes on to say that his parents have done so much for him and sacrificed a lot, but he hasn't been able to do the same for them yet. He really wants to make sure they have a comfortable life once they retire, and he feels it's his duty as the eldest son to make that happen. He then asks Sunbi about her father because he's heard that her father might need some help. Sunbi agrees with what he's saying, and they keep talking about it. He expresses his sorrow for her father's terrible car accident that happened 3 years ago. He then asks if her mother is the one who works now because he heard she runs a small restaurant. Curious, he wants to know how big the restaurant is. She explains that it's a small tteokbokki shop mainly for hungry students, and they don't own the building. Instead, they pay rent every month. Subin then asks him if he really plans to take care of his parents after they retire. She thinks this could make things more complicated for them. He goes on to say that he's been interested in her ever since she walked into the room. He explains that he's an only child and feels it's his duty to take care of his parents. She tells him that they're not meant to be together and hopes he finds someone better. She starts to walk away, but he stops her and asks her to sit down and think about it for a moment. He tells Sunbi that once they get married, she will become part of his family, and that's something he really wants. He tells her that she can't take care of her old parents forever and suggests he might consider having them live closer to his house. Sunbi gets really angry and yells at him, saying how dare he insult her parents. She points out that a mama's boy like him should understand the importance of family and that he's not the only one who cares about his parents. Seeing how furious Sunbi is, he quickly runs away. Sunbi thinks to herself about how anyone would want to marry her with her temper like this. It starts raining, and she complains about the bad weather while walking home. She thinks about what she'll tell her mom, feeling like a grown woman and a child at the same time under the rain. She sees another woman also caught in the rain and, feeling sympathetic, hands her umbrella to the woman. The woman and her child thank Sunbi for the umbrella. Sunbi turns to walk away, feeling a bit better about the rain, but she's suddenly startled by a man standing in front of her. He has an umbrella covering his face, so she can't see him clearly. The man says, "I see you're still the same." Sunbi realizes with a shock that the man is Yejun-ji. He then tells her that she shouldn't worry about her own business. Sunbi is not happy to see Yejun and gets really angry. She yells at him, asking what he wants and why he surprised her like that. Yejun calmly replies that he's come to collect something she owes him from 10 years ago. Then, to her surprise, he says, "Let's get married." Sunbi is completely shocked by his proposal and has no idea how to react. Sunbi asks Yejun to confirm if he really said what she thinks he just said. But instead of answering her question, Yejun starts asking about her parents and the shop. Sunbi tells him that her parents are doing well, thanks to him, and the shop is also in good shape. Yejun says he wants to talk with her, but Sunbi isn't ready for a conversation right now. She tells him she knows she's the one who owes him, but she's just not in the mood to discuss it today. Yejun starts walking away, but he stops halfway when Sunbi calls out his name. She then asks him if he doesn't have any manners, pointing out that she's completely soaked from the rain while he's walking away with his umbrella. Yejun ignores her and keeps walking. Sunbi yells after him, saying he hasn't changed at all. Yejun shouts back that she hasn't changed either and is just as shameless as ever. Yejun's father tells him that this is his last chance. He says if Yejun doesn't get married or at least find someone suitable soon, he should forget about his inheritance. Yejun replies that he has no intention of getting married. His father warns him that he has 1 month before he cuts him off from the inheritance. Yejun then tells his father that he knows he's not his real son, but he thinks this situation is ridiculous. His father responds by saying Yejun should be grateful that he took him in at all. Back with Sunbi, Yejun tells her they should get married. Sunbi responds that marriage isn't a joke, and it's not a decision that can be made by just one person. Yejun offers her a deal. If she marries him for 1 year, he will clear her debt. He asks if that's not enough for someone as famously stubborn as Sunbi Shin. In a fit of anger, Sunbi tells him that he thinks he can mess with people just because he has money. Yejun tells Sunbi that he knows she doesn't really plan on getting married. He says this might be why all her blind dates haven't worked out so far. He asks if her parents know she's decided not to get married. Sunbi gets annoyed and questions whether he's been snooping around to find out about her. She tells him to stop following her and assures him that she will pay him back, no matter what it takes. Yejun explains that he has given her 10 years to repay the money, with no interest added. Even though she hasn't paid him back yet, next month is the end of their agreement. He says he will make sure to collect the full amount, regardless of her circumstances or what happens. Yejun tells Sunbi to think about his offer. He says if she agrees to marry him for just 1 year, she and her parents won't have to worry about money for the rest of their lives. Sunbi walks away without saying a word, feeling puzzled about why Yejun would suggest something like this. As she leaves, she picks up his umbrella and hopes he ends up stepping in a puddle of mud. When she gets home, her mom asks her how the blind date went. Sunbi replies that she's tired and just wants to go to bed. She heads to her room, lies down on her bed, and thinks about how the money Yejun lent her was helpful for her family. But now, the problem is that he wants her to marry him as repayment. She eventually falls asleep, remembering that she first met Yejun back in 6th grade. When Yejun transferred to their school in 6th grade, his good looks made him the talk of the school. Everyone called him pretty. Subin noticed that he skipped lunch and offered him a snack, thinking he might be hungry. But Yejun told her to mind her own business and said she was ugly, so he didn't want her snack. Annoyed, Subin told him to pour the snack all over his handsome face. In class, the teacher announces that anyone who hasn't paid the class dues yet has until tomorrow to hand in their payment. Yejun and Subin are both on the list of people who haven't paid. Subin decides to give Yejun her money to cover the dues, thinking he'll probably just tell her to get lost. So she quietly puts the money in his desk. But then something unexpected happens. A child starts looking for his money, and everyone thinks Yejun stole it because he's poor and the money was found in his desk. The teacher tells Yejun to come to his office immediately. But Subin quickly steps in and explains to the teacher that she was the one who put the money in Yejun's desk, and it was all a misunderstanding. The teacher thinks Subin just feels sorry for Yejun. Later, the missing money is found in the kid's textbook, and the issue is closed. But Yejun is still angry with Subin. She tries to explain that she just wanted to help, but Yejun accuses her of only trying to make herself feel better. Subin wants to make it up to Yejun for the misunderstanding, but he tells her to forget it. He says he doesn't need her stinking help and that he will get his revenge on his own. He makes it clear that he'll make sure she feels the same pain, calling it help. Their relationship turns even worse, and Subin graduates without ever getting a chance to properly apologize to him. Then, both of their lives take an unexpected turn. Subin's family struggles with the aftermath of her dad's failed business. At school, Yejun barely notices her anymore, and he has changed a lot. One day, another student punches Yejun, and he blames Subin, thinking she's part of the reason for the fight. He tells her to stop being nosy and to get lost. Subin tries to explain that the kid was angry because Yejun took his spot as student council president. Yejun is lucky not to have been suspended or expelled. He changes a lot. Now he's fearless because he has everything he wants. When Subin gets home, she finds out that her parents' food stall was attacked by someone demanding money for tax. She feels frustrated because they don't have any money, and she's scared, which makes her feel even worse. Ironically, Yejin shows up at her house. Yejin comes to offer help to Subin and her family. Subin isn't sure if she should accept his help, but Yejin says it's not a big deal. He reminds her that she once helped him when he was having a hard time by paying for his school trip. Yejin offers to lend her 100 million won. He says she can pay him back when she starts making enough money. He's actually doing her a big favor. Yejin tells Subin's mother that this is his way of saying thanks for everything Subin has done for him. Subin's mother says that it's a very kind and generous offer, but there's no way she can accept such a large amount of money. Yejin replies that the amount of money doesn't matter. What counts is the gesture. He takes out the contract and gives it to Subin's mother to review. He tells her not to feel bad, explaining that it's not like he's giving her free money. If she doesn't pay him back, he warns that there's nowhere she can go where he won't be able to find her. At her workplace, Subin's colleagues remind her that it's been a month since she got promoted and ask if she's going to take them out for dinner. They tell her not to try to skip out on them tonight. Subin agrees and says it's fine. She tells them they should all celebrate her promotion together and that dinner will be on her. Everyone is happy, and they all go out to celebrate. After dinner, everyone thanks Subin for the meal and goes home. Subin is left alone, thinking about how hard she works to make money, but it never feels like enough. She feels grateful to Yejun for helping her pay off her debt bit by bit, instead of having to go to a loan shark. She knows he saved her from a worse situation. Still, she's angry that Yejun is asking her to marry him. She feels frustrated because she was so close to saving enough money, but had to use it to pay for her dad's hospital bills. She thinks about all the things Yejun promised if she agrees to marry him. Subin remembers that her friend Sunyoung is getting married this week and starts thinking about what kind of gift to get her. On the wedding day, Subin congratulates Sunyoung and takes a picture with her. During the wedding, the other ladies chat and say they heard Sunyoung's husband works for a big company. They also mention that no one expected her to get married just a month after breaking up with her ex. They all agree that Sunyoung made the right choice, saying you have to be practical when it comes to marriage. Subin agrees, pointing out that even the most loving couples can end up divorced. She says it's understandable if someone values money over love. One of the ladies says she would totally marry a rich guy, even if it's just for a year. Subin has always believed she would choose love over money. As she listens to her friends, she starts rethinking everything Yejun has said to her. She realizes that she's still thinking about him. Her friends are talking about a handsome guy who looks like a celebrity. Curious, Subin looks over to see who they're talking about. To her surprise, it's Yejun. She wonders why Yejun is here at the wedding. Subin is really surprised to see Yejun on the groom's side of the wedding. She's trying to figure out how he found out she would be here. Yejun walks over to her table and playfully asks if she's still a big eater. Subin is curious and asks him directly what he's doing at the wedding. Yejun explains that the groom is one of the top managers at his company, so he's here because he works with him. Subin doesn't buy his explanation and tells him to be honest, accusing him of following her to the wedding. Yejun responds, asking if it isn't actually the other way around. Subin gets upset and asks him why she would ever follow him. Her friends ask Director Ji if he knows Subin. He says yes, and that they've been classmates since elementary school. Her friends are surprised and say she should have told them she has such a cool friend like him. They suggest she should have set them up on a blind date with him. The friends then ask what Yejun does for a living because they heard someone call him Director. A man nearby explains that Yejun works for a travel agency called K-Tour. The girls all exclaim, K-Tour? From K-Group? They've heard that K-Tour is the biggest travel agency in Korea. The man confirms that Yejun is the director of the company. Meanwhile, Choi Ji-sang, the biggest jerk from their school, walks in. Everyone wonders what he's doing here. He asks them if they're not happy to see him. Subin asks him why she should be happy to see him. Ji-sang explains that they haven't seen each other in a long time, and tells Subin that he's glad to see her. He calls her darling, and Subin asks why he's calling her that. Ji-sang thinks to himself that she's still as feisty as ever. He goes on to say that he's doing really well now. He works with a big trading company, has his own team, and everything. He mentions that she might have heard about him through gossip. Subin thinks to herself that he's still as cocky as he was in school, and even tried to hit on her before he left for the army. Choi Ji-sang keeps talking about his job, and it really irritates Subin. She thinks to herself that she doesn't care about his trading company. She decides to tell him that she heard he sells knockoffs to China. Ji-sang then asks about the guy she was with, saying he thought they were going to get married. He mentions he heard that the guy cheated on her with a rich girl and then dumped her. Subin is shocked and says he can't be serious. Ji-sang replies that, based on her reaction, it must be true. Choi Ji-sang keeps bothering Subin with his words. He says they used to talk about getting married, and that she's not the stuck-up Subin he used to know. He tells her that she was too stuck up for who she really was, and asks what made her think it's okay to be so snobby. He adds that no one wants to be with a girl who has a past like hers, and warns her not to hide her past and try to seduce naive people. Subin, already angry, asks him if he's going to keep running his mouth. She picks up her fork, ready to hit him with it, but Yejin stops her. Yejin tells her to ignore Choi, saying she doesn't need to respond to someone like him. Choi is annoyed and asks Yejin if he knows who he's talking to. Yejin replies that he doesn't care to know. Yejin holds Subin's hand and tells her not to pay attention to Choi. Choi is surprised to see Yejin standing up for her and asks if Yejin is her boyfriend. He tells Yejin that everything he said is true and that Subin is just deceiving him. Yejin replies that he's okay with it and tells Choi to stop blabbing. Yejin turns to Subin and says that Choi has totally ruined the mood. He asks her if she still feels like eating anything and suggests they go outside to get something nice. In Subin's mind, she wonders what Yejin is up to next. Choi gets angry and asks if Yejin and Subin are really together. He says they've really pissed him off. He moves closer, trying to hit Subin, but Yejin stops him by pouring water in Choi's face. Two young men step in to take Choi out of the hall. Choi tries to make a scene, saying he's not leaving because Yejin splashed water on him. Despite his protests, he's dragged outside. Everyone turns to Yejin and Subin, asking if they're okay. Her friends then ask if Subin and Yejin are together. Subin shouts that there's no way, and they're more like enemies. The girls say they're not so sure, and Yejin seems to think differently. Yejin turns to Subin with a smile. Subin, confused, asks him what's with the smirk and why he's making that face. Yejin tells Subin that he's actually the one pursuing her. Subin quickly says that's a lie and tells everyone not to believe him because he's just joking around. Yejin insists he's not joking. He turns to Subin and reminds her about the other day when he asked her to marry him. He tells her he'll treat her well and that she should stop wandering around and settle down with him. Then he takes her by the hand and says they should go outside to talk. Once they're outside, Subin slaps Yejin and asks him why he made such a claim in front of her friends. Yejin points at her and says she should be grateful because he just saved her from Choi. But instead of thanking him, Subin tells him she never asked for his help and doesn't appreciate it. Yejin tells Subin that it's not something she could have asked for, and he didn't ask her when she helped him back in school. Subin feels like she knew something was going on with him. She tells him that he didn't really help her at the wedding and asks if she's wrong about that. Subin tells Yejin that he's just making up a story to make his fake marriage idea work. She thinks he's trying to impress her friends. Yejin says she's smarter than he thought and is glad she sees through his plan. She gets so angry that she tries to hit him, but she slips, and Yejin quickly moves to stop her from falling. Yejin asks her where her manners are and says that some people don't know how to be grateful. He suggests they go get something to eat. Subin says she'll pass and tells him to go by himself. Yejin calls out to her, saying, "Subin, can't you see you're contradicting yourself? It's just a meal, just like how chocolate milk is just chocolate milk." Subin remembers she once said the same thing to him back in school. She agrees to go with him, thinking to herself that even when Yejun is mad, he still looks handsome. She hates to admit it, but he definitely has a good-looking face and knows how to make her quiet. She thinks she should thank him for dealing with Jinsung, even though it's not that simple. She walks up to Yejun and tells him she's going to order really expensive food and only the best wine. They get into the car, and Yejun asks her what she feels like eating. Subin says she'll let him choose since he's paying. Yejun remembers that she likes barbecue and decides that's what they'll have. Subin is excited that Yejun is going to order a lot of barbecue tonight. But then something terrible happens. Yejun's grandpa calls to tell him that his grandma just collapsed. Yejun starts driving wildly, and Subin screams at him to stop driving like a maniac. She asks him what's going on and where they are headed now. Yejun explains that his grandma has collapsed. Even though she doesn't know his grandma personally, Subin remembers that it was Yejun's grandma who helped her before. She tells him to drive faster because what if it's already too late? When they get to the hospital, Yejun rushes into the room where his grandma is lying in bed. He tells her that she should never leave him and that she has to stay strong. His grandma replies that she's not going anywhere and this sickness can't beat her. Meanwhile, Subin waits outside the room, feeling unsure. She thinks she can't just walk in and start thanking Yejun's grandma for the money she lent them years ago. While she's standing there, a man approaches her and asks if she's here to see his wife, Grandma. Subin explains that she's Yejun's friend. The man, looking pleased, says, "You must be Yejun's girlfriend. You came with him to check on his grandma." He then takes Subin's hand and leads her into the room, introducing her to Grandma as Yejun's girlfriend. Grandma smiles at Subin and says she has always wanted to meet Yejun's girlfriend. She asks Subin where Yejun found such a lovely girl. Subin tells her that they've known each other since elementary school. Grandma says she didn't think Yejun would be able to find a girl as beautiful as Subin. Subin thinks to herself that she can't remember the last time anyone showed her this much kindness. Grandma tells her it's so nice to meet her, and Subin replies, wishing her to get better soon. Yejun stands nearby and thinks out loud that Subin is definitely the one for him. After leaving the hospital, they drive to a restaurant to eat. Once they arrive, Yejun asks Subin again to take his offer seriously. Subin tells him she's really sorry about his grandma. Yejun then explains that the money he lent her wasn't really his. It was actually borrowed from his grandma in secret, and he wasn't supposed to tell anyone. He says he doesn't want to use sympathy to convince her, but this is the best way he can make his point. Subin thinks about how Yejun's grandma helped her when she was at her lowest, and she's always been grateful for that. She asks Yejun if a fake marriage is really the only solution. Yejun explains that his father is a man of his word. He says his father would even risk his professional life just to prove a point. Yejun adds that if his father goes through with his threat, the only thing left for him will be the money he lent Subin. He also remembers that his grandma's last wish was for him to get married before she passed away. After thinking it over, Subin asks Yejun what the real deal is. Yejun tells her that his father never gave him a chance to achieve anything on his own. Yejun explains that his father still controls his life, and as soon as he gets his share of the inheritance, he plans to leave the country. He tells Subin that once everything is settled, she can use the money she'll receive and move on with her life. Subin tells Yejun it must be tough for him, and though she wants to comfort him, she's not sure what to say. She worries that he might think she's judging him again. Yejun says if she wants to help him feel better, she should stop with the sympathy and just accept his offer. Subin says she knows he isn't a bad guy deep down, but Yejun disagrees, saying she's wrong and doesn't understand anything about him. Subin asks if he still hates her. Yejun says yes and warns her not to develop any kind of attachment to him. Yejun tells Subin that he needs someone who can keep things strictly business. That's why he chose her for the job. He says once it gets personal, she's useless to him. Subin asks if he's going to abandon her when she becomes useless. Yejun says he'll leave her without a second thought because there's no reason to keep her around. He stands up to leave and tells her to take a cab home. He says they'll talk again when she's sober. Yejun tells her they're both standing on the edge of a cliff. Subin is angry and calls him a bastard. She feels this is the reality she has to deal with. Subin can't stop thinking about Yejun. She knows he had no real intention of helping her. Even if she gets more time to pay back the debt, she'll probably end up in an even worse financial situation. On her way home, she runs into her ex. He walks right up to her and tries to touch her. Mo. Subin tells him to get his hands off her and asks why he dares to show his face. He asks how he can make her feel better, and she tells him he'd need to be born again. He says she can punch him if she wants, but Subin says she's not that type and tells him to get lost. Just then, she gets a call from an unknown number. It turns out to be Yejun. She tells him she thought he was supposed to rest today and didn't need to call her. She uses the term honey to make her ex jealous and asks Yejun if he misses her that much. Yejun is surprised when he hears Subin call him honey. He wonders what's going on with her. She tells him to come to the bus stop. Subin tells her ex that he should leave immediately because she doesn't want Yejun to see him. Her ex asks if they are getting married. She replies, of course not, and says she's not like him, who plays around and betrays his lover. Gyeonho says he knows she's a good woman, but she tells him she doesn't care about his sweet talk. Just as she's about to walk away, he grabs her hand. Meanwhile, Yejun arrives and says, "Hey darling, sorry for making you wait." He then asks Gyeonho why he's holding on to someone else's girl. Yejun tells Gyeonho to let go of Subin. Subin, feeling relieved, tells Gyeonho that Yejun is her fiancé. Gyeonho gets a call and gets a bit distracted. Yejun seizes the chance and asks Subin if she will marry him. Subin is surprised and tells him that this is the worst time to ask such a question. Yejun cuts her off, saying this is actually the best time to get an answer. She knows Yejun wouldn't come all the way here just to help her without any benefit for himself. Yejun says he needs her answer so he knows what to do next. He gives her an ultimatum, saying she has until he counts to 3. When he reaches 3, Subin finally says, "Fine, let's get married." Yejun tells her there's no taking it back and kisses her. Yejun tells Subin that he loves her. He then turns to Gyeonho and says that Gyeonho seems to have more to do at the bus stop, but they need to leave now. Yejun adds that he doesn't want to be late for the famous gopchang place. Once they arrive at the restaurant, Yejun reminds Subin that the decision is made and it's now an unforgettable memory. Subin, still angry, punches him. Yejun says he went out of his way to help her, and now she's acting like a beast. Subin asks him why he had to kiss her. Yejun replies that it wasn't like he kissed her on the lips, he had to force himself to do it. He did it to make sure her ex believed her lie. As they continue drinking, Subin asks how he got her number. Yejun says it wasn't that hard to find. Subin tells him to stop stalking and digging into her background. Yejun says he called before coming over because she told him not to just show up unannounced. Subin asks him why he picked her out of all the women he could choose from. Yejun replies that he didn't pick her because she's his type, and it's not like he's her type either. That's what makes them a perfect business match. He adds that he's going to enjoy making fun of her while they live together. Subin says that's enough and she wants to go home, but Yejun insists they need to finish their conversation. Subin points out that it's getting late and her mom will be really upset if she doesn't get back soon. Yejun tells her they slept together, which leaves her stunned and trying to piece together what happened. She notices something strange in his nose and asks if he had a nosebleed, worried he might have overdone it last night. He looks at her with a puzzled expression and asks if she remembers anything from the night before. Feeling a bit embarrassed and confused, she starts looking around for her clothes. He notices her searching and points towards the bathroom, mentioning that her clothes are in there. She heads into the bathroom, feeling a mix of emotions. As she closes the door behind her, she starts talking to herself, trying to make sense of everything. Did I really sleep with my enemy? She wonders out loud, feeling a bit uneasy. She decides to take a shower, hoping it will help clear her mind. But instead of getting in, she stands there, lost in her thoughts, going over the events in her mind. Minutes pass, and she still hasn't moved. She's deep in thought, replaying everything she can remember and trying to fill in the gaps. Suddenly, Yejun calls out, asking if she plans to stay in the bathroom forever. His voice startles her, snapping her out of her thoughts. She jumps slightly as he walks over and opens the bathroom door, catching her off guard. Yejun tells her he thought she might have fallen and broken her nose. She steps aside as he moves into the bathroom, still looking concerned. He tells her to get out of the way so he can check on her. She stands there for a moment, gathering her thoughts, and then says she has something important to tell him. He looks at her, and before she can speak, guesses that she might want to tell him to forget about what happened last night. "Is that what you want to say?" he asks, his tone a bit impatient. She takes a deep breath, trying to make him understand. She explains that he doesn't really know her, and she never sleeps with random guys, no matter how drunk she gets. She stresses that if they did sleep together, it was a mistake and only happened because she was completely drunk. She wants him to know that it wasn't something she would normally do. Yejun listens, but doesn't seem satisfied. She can see that he isn't going to let it go easily. She asks him what he plans to do since he doesn't want to forget about what happened. He reminds her that she made a promise and hints that she knows exactly what he wants from her, though he doesn't spell it out. Just then, her phone starts ringing, breaking the tension. She goes to grab it and sees that it's her mom calling. Her heart sinks, knowing this conversation is about to get even more complicated. She feels a wave of dread, realizing she's about to have a tough conversation with her mom while dealing with the mess she's in with Yejun. Subin's mom says she knows Subin stayed the night at Yejun's place and that it's good because no one was home last night. She apologizes for not leaving a message and explains that Subin's dad had a bit of a tumble. He fell down the stairs, but thankfully it's nothing serious. He's already been to the doctor, so there's no need to worry. Subin is left wondering how her dad is fine after falling down the stairs. Just then, Yejun comes out of the bathroom and sees the worried look on her face. He asks what's wrong, and she tells him that her dad hurt himself. Seeing how concerned she is, Yejun quickly gathers her things and tells her they should go see her dad right away. Subin appreciates his help but mentions that she has to stop by the restaurant first. Yejun nods, understanding that she has responsibilities to take care of before they can head to her dad's place. Yejun hands Subin a blanket and a handkerchief, wanting to help her however he can. They quickly head to her family's shop. When they get there, Subin notices something that makes her even more worried. Not only did her mom leave the door unlocked, but she also left it wide open all night. Subin sees one of her mom's shoes lying near the entrance and realizes her mom might not have noticed it fell off. This makes Subin feel a mix of anger and worry. She thinks about how her mom always says things aren't serious when they actually are, and this time it seems even more concerning. Yejun, seeing how distracted she is, gently interrupts her thoughts and reminds her that they should start heading to the hospital. Subin nods and quickly calls her mom to find out which hospital her dad is in. Her mom tries to calm her down, saying there's no need to come, but Subin insists that she wants to be there. Finally, her mom tells her the name of the hospital and then mentions she hasn't had a chance to have any coffee today. She asks Subin to bring some when she comes. This request makes Subin feel a little better, thinking that if her mom can still think about her daily cup of coffee, maybe her dad's injury really isn't that serious. With the hospital's name and the coffee request in mind, Subin and Yejun head to the nearest coffee shop first. As they wait for the coffee, Subin's mind races with thoughts about her dad. She feels a bit more at ease, but she's still worried. Yejun tries to keep her calm, reassuring her that everything will be okay. They finally get the coffee and hurry to the hospital. When they arrive at the hospital, Yejun hands Subin 2 cups of coffee. She looks at him, puzzled, and asks why he's being so nice to her all of a sudden. He just gives her a reassuring smile. She's still looking pale, and he notices her unease. He asks if she can make it to her dad's room on her own, genuinely concerned. Subin insists she can, saying she doesn't want to trouble him any further. Despite her words, Yejun remains firm. He insists on going with her, not wanting her to face this alone. She tries to refuse again, saying she can handle it, but he gently ignores her protest and walks alongside her. Together, they enter the hospital, and she feels a bit more supported with him by her side. They walk through the hospital hallways, and Subin feels a mixture of nervousness and relief. Yejun's presence helps calm her, even though she's still worried about her dad. She clutches the coffee cups, thinking about how her mom asked for them, hoping it's a sign that things aren't too bad. They finally reach the room, and Subin takes a deep breath, grateful that Yejun is there with her as she steps inside to see her dad. Subin is about to enter her dad's hospital room when she hears him talking to her mom. He asks her when her next date will be and if the last one went well. He jokes that if it didn't go well, it must be because the guy thought Subin is too beautiful for him. As they continue chatting, Subin takes a deep breath and steps into the room while Yejun waits outside. Inside, her mom and dad look up, surprised to see her. She quickly tells them she has no plans to get married, reminding them again. Her dad's face lights up, happy to see her. "My little princess is here to see me," he exclaims with a big smile. Subin sighs, feeling a mix of frustration and affection. "Dad, I've told you so many times that I don't want to get married. Please stop trying to set me up on dates. You both need to stop worrying about me getting married," she says firmly but gently. Her parents exchange a look, and her dad's smile softens. They can see she means it, but it's clear they're still concerned. Subin looks at her parents and tells them they don't even know what she has gone through because of those blind dates. Her mom, looking concerned, asks her to explain what she means and what the guys said to her. Subin takes a deep breath and starts to describe how tough it was. She tells them how miserable she felt going through all 13 blind dates and how she had to put up with insults each time. She says they never bothered to ask her how she really felt. Instead, all they cared about was how quickly she could find a guy from these dates and get married. She tells them she would rather live alone or even die alone than spend her life with someone who doesn't respect her and isn't worth her trust. Feeling frustrated, she turns on her heel and steps out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Subin's mom steps out of the room to find her but runs into Yejun in the hallway. She looks at him and asks if he's here to collect money from Subin. She reminds him that she hasn't forgotten the huge help he's given them and promises she'll pay him back soon, so he shouldn't worry about it. Yejun shakes his head and says he's actually about to leave. He asks her to send his regards to her husband. She nods and then asks him a favor, saying, "Please look after Subin. She's going through a lot right now." Yejun agrees and gives her a reassuring nod. They exchange a few more words of thanks and Yejun heads out, leaving Subin's mom feeling a bit more relieved knowing someone is looking out for her daughter. Yejun tells Subin she should get into the car so he can give her a ride home. She tries to argue that she'll take the bus instead, but Yejun looks at her with concern. "You look really awful right now," he says. "I'm not letting you take the bus like this." Subin knows he's right and reluctantly agrees to go with him. As they drive, Subin thinks about how her dreams of getting married disappeared after she broke up with her ex. She tells Yejun that her parents are always talking about how they want her to get married. "Can you imagine how happy they would be if they found out I'm getting married now?" she asks. Then she adds, "But what if they discover it's just a fake marriage to help pay off debts? How would they feel then? They're the ones who care the most about my happiness." Yejun listens to her and thinks for a moment. He then suggests, if it's going to make them happy, why not just go ahead and marry him? He seems to be suggesting that if it could bring her parents joy, maybe it's worth considering. Yejun listens to Subin and then says that if she's talking about marrying him, it's a different story. He admits he can't promise to be a perfect husband, but he can try to be a good son-in-law. He explains that this marriage isn't just about helping her clear her debt. Instead, they would get married to enjoy their time together while still living their own lives. Yejun continues, saying that once everything is over, he plans to leave Korea. However, he promises he will come back at least once a year to visit her parents. He also says it will be easy for them to pretend they are happily married. When Subin eventually finds someone she truly loves, She can tell them she wants a divorce. She can even blame everything on him if she wants. Yejun assures her that this way, everyone will come out as winners from this arrangement. Yejun tells Subin that if she's still not sure about this arrangement, he will do his best to convince her. He says she should speak up now if she doesn't want to be part of this plan. He starts counting, telling her he'll count slowly so she has time to answer. "I'll count to 3, and you need to answer before I get to 3, he says. Subin thinks for a moment and then tells him that before she says yes, she needs to confirm something with him. She asks him to meet her tomorrow after work and come very hungry so they can have dinner together. Yejun agrees, saying he'll come hungry and look forward to having dinner with her. But he adds that she better keep her promise. Subin thanks him for today and gets out of the car. Later, Yejun sends her a message saying he will be at the hotel to pick her up tomorrow after work. Subin is outside with her colleagues when they spot a handsome man in a suit. They point him out and suggest that if she can get his number, she'll be their heroine forever. Subin decides to take on the challenge. She walks over to Yejun, takes his hand, and then turns back to her colleagues with a smile, letting them know that the mission is complete. They both head to a restaurant together. Once they're seated, Subin orders chicken feet and a bottle of soju. Yejun looks at the food and asks her if this is what she really brought him here to eat. He says he doesn't eat chicken feet and that he will just stick to drinking. He adds that he knows how to control himself with alcohol. Subin explains that she needs to test his limits, and the best way to do that is to make him drink on an empty stomach. She wants to see how he handles the drinks and get a sense of his tolerance. Yejun asks Subin what's the last thing she wants to check. She looks at him and asks if he's thinking about anyone else or if he's sure that she's the right one for him. He answers confidently, saying that it has to be her and no one else. He's not interested in anyone else. It has to be just her. Subin then brings up the night they spent together. She says that after what happened, he has been acting like nothing significant took place. She wants to know if they really did sleep together or not. Yejun understands her doubts and says that he gets why she might hate him. But he questions if she really thinks he would do something so wrong to a woman while they were drunk. Subin replies that she just can't trust what he says. She's unsure and feels conflicted, needing more clarity about what really happened between them. Yejun tells Subin that it's her problem to deal with, not his. She insists that he said she was bothering him. He explains that she hit him with her head and made his head bleed. Plus, he had to clean the vomit off her clothes and bring her to his house so her parents wouldn't kick her out for being drunk. Subin replies that he should have clarified things right away. Yejun asks Subin if she's finally made up her mind and if they're going to go through with the marriage. Subin takes a deep breath and says yes. They should just go ahead with it. She quickly adds that it's not like they're getting married for real. It's just a way to solve their problems, not an actual commitment. They both agree to enjoy their drinks and have a good time despite the situation. Subin feels embarrassed about being the only one who blacked out the other night. She's still a bit shaken from the fact that she passed out from drinking so much. Yejun is ready to leave the restaurant, but as they are about to head out, the shop owner calls him back. The owner looks at Yejun and asks if he's going to leave his girlfriend behind. Yejun quickly corrects him, saying that he's not her boyfriend. He then carefully picks Subin up on his back, carrying her as she's still passed out. He tells her that she's going to owe him big time for ruining his expensive suit when she wakes up. Yejun carries her out of the restaurant, making sure she's comfortable and safe while they head to his car. She slowly comes to, on the cold floor where he left her, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. As she sits up, she's puzzled about why he treated her this way. Though she's agreed to a fake marriage, it doesn't mean she's comfortable living with someone who might be hiding something shady. She decides she needs to watch his every move and figure out what he's planning. If he tries anything inappropriate, she's ready to defend herself and deal with him firmly. As she lies there pretending to be asleep, he emerges from the bathroom. He's distracted by something else and doesn't notice her watching him from her spot on the floor. She keeps still and quiet, observing him closely to see what he might do next. He carelessly drops her onto the bed, treating her like a heavy piece of wood. As she lands on the mattress, she thinks aloud, wondering why he couldn't have been more gentle with her. It's clear he's not too concerned about her comfort. While he finishes getting dressed, she lies on the bed, feeling a mix of irritation and unease. After he's done with his clothes, he walks over to the bed and reaches out to touch her. He tells her she should be grateful that he was the one who brought her home, because other guys might have taken advantage of her in her vulnerable state. He then gives her a gentle tap on the head and scolds her, saying she shouldn't get so drunk that she ends up wandering the streets like that. Subin, who has been pretending to be asleep this whole time, thinks to herself that this must be how things played out the previous night as well. She tries to reassure herself that it's not worth worrying about too much, as it seems like it's just part of the situation she's in. She picks up her phone after he has already left the house. She's a little surprised when he actually answers the call, especially since he thought she'd be too drunk and asleep to make any calls. She tells him they should set up a time to meet both of their parents officially next week. She's ready to move forward with a fake marriage plan, so she says, "Let's go ahead and do this." At Jeonho's house, his mother is really upset with him. She keeps complaining about how he always gets drunk and causes trouble. She wonders why he can't seem to stop and why he keeps making things worse. Jeonho listens to her and keeps apologizing, saying he's really sorry for what happened with Subin and that he made a big mistake. He tells his mother that he's reached his limit and can't deal with the situation any longer. He asks her to help him by bringing Subin back to him so he can try to make things right. Jeonho's mother says to him that he's too good for Subin. She explains that he should be with someone from a similar background who can actually be useful to him. She's the one who caused their breakup, but she tries to make it seem like it was for his own good. Jeonho feels desperate and tells her he would rather die than keep living like this. His mother is taken aback and asks how he can say such things to her. He responds by saying it's because she took Subin away from him, and he begs her to please bring Subin back. The next day, Jeonho's mother decides to go find Subin herself. When she arrives, Subin is shocked and visibly nervous to see her. Jeonho's mother notices that Subin is stuttering and asks her why she is acting this way. She reminds Subin that she's the assistant manager at the hotel and should be more professional. Jeonho's mother says that Subin's behavior is making her feel unwelcome. Subin quickly apologizes and tries to make things right. She asks if there is a reservation under the name of Jeonho's mother, but the woman tells her no. She then explains that the dining room is fully booked, so Subin needs to arrange a private room for her. Subin tells Jeonho's mother that she can definitely help her with a private room. However, she also explains that in the private rooms, only full-course meals are available. She offers to take her to the room if that's fine with her. Instead of accepting this information calmly, Jeonho's mother becomes angry and shouts at Subin, questioning why she is talking back. Subin tries to stay calm and explains that she was only informing her of the restaurant's policies. She apologizes if this upset her and bows her head respectfully to show that she is sincere. Even though Subin was just following the restaurant's rules, Jeonho's mother decides to complain about her to the manager. She knows Subin wasn't in the wrong, but wants to make things difficult for her anyway. As Subin watches Jeonho's mother cause a scene, she thinks to herself, "She already knew I work here. What is she trying to do now? She didn't like me before and even had me break up with her son, just like she wanted. So why is she making such a fuss now?" A little while later, the manager calls Subin and tells her that Jeonho's mother insists on having her as her server. He asks if she's okay with that. Subin says it's no problem at all and that she would be happy to serve her. She heads to the private room where Jeonho's mother is waiting and prepares to serve the crab meat that was ordered. Jeonho's mother says, "Thank you," and then asks Subin how her father is doing. She wants to know if he's feeling better. Subin responds that her father is indeed doing better now. Then Gyeonho's mother changes the subject and asks if Subin's mother still sells tteokbokki in front of the school. Subin gives her a scornful look because she feels that the question is a bit rude. Gyeonho's mother notices the look and gets annoyed, asking Subin why she's not answering her question. She seems to think Subin is being awkward because she's embarrassed. At the same time, some of Gyeonho's mother's friends, who are eating at the restaurant, start talking about Subin. They wonder who she is and mention that she used to follow Gyeonho around in the past. They say that she's just a server at the restaurant and express surprise that she would even think about marrying Gyeonho. Subin overhears them and feels uncomfortable. She tells them to enjoy their meal and then excuses herself so she can leave them to continue their conversation without her. After Gyeonho's mother finishes her meal, she hands Subin some money. She says that Subin must be tired and her feet must be sore from standing all day. She suggests that Subin should use the money to take a taxi home since she knows her job must be very unfulfilling. With that, Gyeonho's mother leaves, making sure to imply that she thinks less of Subin's work. Subin's manager comes up to her and says that Gyeonho's mother just made herself look bad. He tells Subin that she shouldn't let the woman's comments bring her down or make her feel inferior. He encourages her to stay positive and not let the negativity affect her. Subin responds, saying she's fine and that people like Gyeonho's mother can't hurt her anymore. She feels strong and confident despite the harsh words. It's the end of her shift, and as she's walking out of the restaurant, she hears someone calling her name. She turns around and sees a person standing there who asks if she would like to have a little chat. It turns out that the voice calling Subin is Gyeonho's mother. She approaches Subin and asks her why she's still working at the restaurant. She looks at Subin with a disapproving frown and says that Subin still seems very ignorant about things. Gyeonho's mother then tells Subin to cut to the chase and just tell her the real reason why she's there. She accuses Subin of showing her true colors now and wonders how Subin manages to keep a calm and collected attitude in front of everyone else at the restaurant. Subin, feeling frustrated and fed up with the attitude, says that she will leave if Gyeonho's mother doesn't have anything else to say. Gyeonho's mother gets angry and shouts at her, demanding that she sit back down. She scolds Subin for trying to leave while Gyeonho's mother is still speaking, calling it incredibly rude. She questions if that's how her parents raised her to behave. Gyeonho's mother then questions why Subin can't find a different job, like one in an office, instead of working in a restaurant. She asks why Subin would choose to stay in a job like this. Gyeonho's mother makes it clear that she cannot accept the idea of her son, who is a doctor, marrying someone who works in a restaurant serving food. She finds it unacceptable and is very vocal about her disapproval. Gyeonho's mother says that her son is such a kind and gentle boy, and he has moved on from Subin. She is here now to tell Subin what she needs to know. As Subin listens, she remembers that Gyeonho's mother never wanted them to get married in the first place. She was worried that if they got married, people might think they were a match, so she advised Subin not to tell her mother about the situation. Even though Gyeonho's mother supported her son financially all those years while he was studying for his exams, she never said anything negative during that time. However, her attitude completely changed once Gyeonho became successful. Gyeonho's mother gets really upset and asks Subin how she dares to mock her like that. She wonders if Subin thinks this situation is funny. Subin responds that it is indeed funny, because Gyeonho's mother has shown up out of nowhere after 3 years and is now saying all these things. Subin questions what Gyeonho's mother plans to do if Subin doesn't quit her job. She wonders why she should listen to what an older woman like her has to say. Gyeonho's mother is outraged and shouts, asking if Subin really just called her an old lady. Subin calmly replies that she doesn't see a problem with calling her that. She asks if she should call her mother instead. She feels that calling her an old lady is no worse than the way Gyeonho's mother has been treating her. Gyeonho's mother is surprised and asks why Subin didn't speak up with these comments back at the restaurant. Subin says she could have said something, but chose not to at the time. Now, she firmly tells Gyeonho's mother never to visit her again. She points out that Gyeonho's mother should be old enough to feel ashamed of her behavior. Gyeonho's mother asks why she should be ashamed. Subin replies that if she cannot recognize how shameful her actions are, then that in itself is something truly embarrassing. Gyeonho's mother asks if she has done something wrong. She says that if Subin doesn't listen to her, she will call the police the next time she visits. Subin responds by telling her that, thanks to her, Gyeonho is probably doomed to stay single forever. Gyeonho's mother then warns Subin that she better get her act together if she wants Gyeonho to stick around. Just then, Subin's phone rings. It's Yejun calling to check if his ex is still bothering her. Subin tells Yejun that it's not his ex who's causing trouble this time, it's actually his mother. She explains that she's at the hotel cafe lounge right now. Yejun says he will come over soon and asks if she wants him to come inside the hotel. Subin tells him no, that he should wait outside. She assures him that she'll finish up inside and come out to meet him as soon as she can. After ending the call, Subin turns back to Gyeonho's mother. She says that she is getting married soon and thanks Gyeonho's mother for her interference. She explains that if it weren't for the problems caused by Gyeonho's mother, she might never have met her future spouse. Subin tells Gyeonho's mother that she is actually grateful for how things turned out, even though they were difficult. Subin tells Gyeonho's mother that she should keep the money for herself because it isn't even enough to get her home. She decides not to take it and hands it back to Gyeonho's mother. Subin then starts walking away. As she leaves, Gyeonho's mother becomes even angrier. She shouts after Subin, saying that she isn't going to let her get away with insulting her like that. She bets that the person Subin is dating must be just as pathetic as Subin herself. Gyeonho's mother can't understand how Subin could insult Gyeonho by choosing someone she thinks is a loser over him. Gyeonho's mother hurries outside to catch up with Subin, but when she reaches the parking lot, she sees Subin with her date. They are acting all affectionate and loving with each other. Gyeonho's mother watches as they get into a car together, sharing smiles and gestures that show how close they are. The car starts up and drives away, leaving Gyeonho's mother standing there, feeling frustrated and upset as she sees them leave. Subin thinks Yejun's timing couldn't have been any better. She feels relieved that she doesn't have to pretend or fake anything to prove her relationship with him. For a brief moment, she considers how being in a fake marriage with Yejun is so much better than the idea of marrying Gyeonho. This thought makes her laugh out loud. Yejun looks at her, puzzled, and asks why she's laughing. Smiling, Subin recalls a memory from their school days when Yejun proudly beat up a snobby boy running for student president. She tells Yejun that this situation feels just as satisfying as that moment, and she can't help but find the whole thing amusing. He asks her why she's bringing that up all of a sudden. She tells him she thought the best way to become a better person was by being as polite as possible. She wanted to be nice to everyone and always do the right thing. But looking back, she realizes she didn't have to be so naive and stubborn. She was trying so hard to be perfect that she didn't see how unrealistic it was. She reminds him of what he told her back then. He said that he didn't believe in the power of forgiveness and that she could go ahead and tell her kid to be forgiving. However, if someone punches you once, you should hit them back twice. He didn't think it made sense to always forgive and forget. She asks if he remembers that conversation. He says she would always be better off if she listens and does what he says. He thinks she should follow his advice because he knows better. She says he might think she's silly for thinking this way, but this fake marriage with him might not be so bad at all. At first, she was scared and didn't want to do it, but now she's starting to see it differently. She wonders why she is so nervous since he is the one meeting her parents. It's funny to her that she's the one feeling anxious when he should be the one who's nervous. He asks her what her parents said about meeting him. She says they didn't actually say much, which was surprising. She thought they would have a lot to say, but they were pretty quiet. She asks what she should get for them as a gift. She wants to make a good impression and show them she cares. He tells her not to worry about it. He thinks it's not a big deal and she doesn't need to stress over it. He tells her that his mom and younger siblings are traveling abroad right now. He says she will meet his mother eventually. She replies that she will get a chance to officially meet them later. By the way, she heard that only Yejun's father knows about this fake marriage deal. They both enter the house. Subin's parents ask if that's Yejun. She says yes, it's him. They are happy to see him. He persuades them by saying that money means nothing to him and that he's marrying their precious daughter. This really touches her parents' hearts and makes them feel better about the whole situation. Her parents are touched by his words. It makes them feel more comfortable about the situation and starts to change their minds about him. After their conversation, her mother wishes Yejun a safe trip back home. Her father jokes that she should have called him son-in-law instead. Yejun smiles, and then he remembers the flowers he bought on his way. He quickly takes them out and hands them to Subin's mother. She beams with happiness and thanks him, commenting on how beautiful they are and how every woman loves flowers. It's a sweet gesture that makes her feel special. Subin walks Yejun to the door to see him off. She tells him to have a safe trip home. Her father watches them and comments that Yejun has grown into a fine young man and is very kind. He thinks Yejun's parents must be very proud of him. The next day, Subin goes to visit Yejun's family. She feels a bit nervous, but is also excited to meet them. She and Yejun arrive at his family's house and are greeted by his father. Subin introduces herself and tries to make a good impression. Yejun's father is kind and welcomes her warmly. He asks her to take good care of Yejun when they are married, showing his trust in her. This makes Subin feel more at ease and happy that his family is accepting her. She's afraid that he's going to look down on her just like Jaeonho's mother did. She remembers how judgmental and unkind Jaeonho's mother was, always making her feel small and unworthy. But at least Yejun's father doesn't seem like that. He seems more genuine and kind. They go to eat in the dining room, and the meal is pleasant enough. The food is delicious, and everyone is polite, but she still feels a bit out of place. After they finish eating, Yejun's parents surprise her with a gift. She wasn't expecting anything, so she's a bit taken aback. It's a beautifully wrapped box, and when she opens it, she finds a lovely piece of jewelry inside. It's clear that they put a lot of thought into choosing something special for her. She thanks them warmly, feeling a mix of gratitude and surprise. The father then says that they will see each other again soon. Strangely enough, he hasn't done anything to make her feel uncomfortable, but for some reason, she still feels very awkward. Maybe it's the differences in their social status, or perhaps it's just her own insecurities creeping in. She thinks to herself that maybe this is just how rich folks behave, polite, distant, and a bit formal. She also notices that Yejun is quieter and more reserved than usual. He's normally quite talkative and engaging, but today he seems subdued. She wonders if he's feeling the same awkwardness she is, or if something else is on his mind. This adds to her unease, but she tries to brush it off and focus on making a good impression. They both go to see Yejun's grandma in the hospital. Subin asks how she's feeling, and Grandma says she feels much better now that Subin is there. Subin hands over the Korean traditional cookies her parents gave her to bring, and Grandma smiles, appreciating the thoughtful gesture. She asks Subin to pass along her gratitude to her parents. Subin expresses her hope that Grandma gets better soon, and Grandma reassures her that she will. Grandma then talks about how she needs to stick around long enough to see Subin and Yejun living happily together with their future children. She mentions that since they both look so good, their children are bound to be beautiful too. Subin smiles warmly and says goodbye, promising to see Grandma again soon. The day for both families to meet finally arrives. Everyone feels a mix of nervousness and excitement. Subin's parents, dressed nicely and carrying a small gift, are warmly welcomed by Yejun's family. They all sit down together, trying to ease the initial tension. Yejun's father speaks first, assuring Subin's parents that they don't need to worry about the standard wedding formalities, emphasizing that they don't want any part of the process to become a burden. This thoughtful gesture helps Subin's parents relax, and they appreciate the kindness. The families continue to talk, getting to know each other better, and the meeting goes smoothly. Both families feel positive and reassured about the upcoming marriage, making the day a success. Yejun's family assures Subin's parents that they'll handle most of the wedding preparations. They emphasize that the wedding is about Subin and Yejun, and they don't want the parents to feel burdened by all the planning. They also mention that the couple wants to keep the wedding as simple as possible, which helps ease any concerns Subin's parents might have had. Yejun's family is definitely on the quieter side, giving the impression that the wedding isn't a big deal to them. This makes Subin's parents feel a bit awkward, but they appreciate the effort Yejun's family is making. The meeting eventually comes to an end, and both sets of parents greet each other warmly. Subin's father expresses his happiness about the families coming together through this blessed union. This meeting helps both families feel more connected and positive about the upcoming wedding. Subin and her mother go to pick out a wedding gown. After trying on a few dresses, Subin steps into the fitting room to put on a particularly beautiful one. Her mother waits outside, eager to see her daughter in the gown. "You can come out now, Miss Bride-to-be," she calls out with excitement. When Subin steps out, her mother bursts into tears of joy upon seeing her. Subin jokes, saying that if her mother keeps crying like this, she's going to call the whole thing off. Her mother quickly responds, "Now that's not funny, sweetie," wiping away her tears. As Subin stands there in the stunning white dress, she reflects on how she always dreamt of a day like this. She imagines the curtain drawing back and her fiancé being mesmerized by how gorgeous she looks, falling in love with her all over again. That's the moment she's been dreaming of all this time. However, in the midst of her fantasy, she remembers that her marriage isn't real. This realization brings her back to reality, and the joy she feels is tinged with a bit of sadness. She tries to focus on the happiness of the moment and the love her mother is showing her, even if everything else feels complicated. On the day of the wedding, Subin's father walks her down the aisle. As they walk together, he leans in and softly says, "I bless you with my heart, my sweetie." Subin feels a rush of emotions. She thinks to herself that she made this decision to make everyone happy, but she still feels a twinge of guilt. Why does she feel this way if she's doing the right thing for everyone? When they reach the altar, her father hands her over to Yejun. He looks at Yejun seriously and says, "Please take good care of my daughter." Subin and Yejun then read their marriage vows out loud. The words feel heavy with meaning, even if their marriage isn't real. During the ceremony, Yejun notices Subin's eyes are a little teary and asks if she's crying. She quickly says no, even though her eyes are glistening with unshed tears. Yejun teases her, saying she looks especially ugly when she cries. Subin calls him a jerk, but she can't help but smile a little. Despite everything, their wedding goes off without a hitch. After the ceremony, Subin tells Yejun that he better keep his promise to be a good son-in-law to her parents as long as they are married. Yejun reassures her, saying that this marriage will make everyone happy. Subin hopes he's right, and that, in time, maybe she'll feel happy too. Inside the plane, Yejun notices how tense Subin looks. He asks her if this is her first time on a plane. She nods and admits that she's never had the chance to fly before. She looks out the window and is mesmerized by the night view, exclaiming how spectacular it is. Yejun hands her a drink and tells her to just drink up and get some rest. Subin takes the drink and sips it slowly, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. She thinks to herself how she never imagined going on a honeymoon, let alone flying to a distant place. The idea of this trip fills her with excitement and curiosity. As she settles into her seat, she can't help but feel a sense of adventure. Everything feels new and thrilling, from the hum of the plane to the view of the city lights below. She's excited about the journey ahead, and the experiences waiting for her, even if the circumstances of their marriage are complicated. They arrive at their destination, Waikiki Beach. Subin steps out of the plane and breathes in the warm tropical air. She can't believe she's in Hawaii and feels a rush of excitement. Yejun hands her an ATM card and tells her they'll spend 5 days here and try not to run into each other. She's surprised but nods, taking the card. Subin enters her room and immediately jumps onto the bed, feeling the plush mattress beneath her. She sighs with relief and says aloud that she can finally unwind. She's eager to go out, explore, and eat delicious food, but right now, a nap sounds perfect. She decides to rest for a bit before starting her adventure. Just as she's getting comfortable, her phone rings. It's her mother, checking to see if they've arrived safely. Subin reassures her, saying yes, they've made it. Her mother then asks where Yejun is. Subin quickly lies, saying he's taking a shower, even though he's in a different room. Her mother tells her to give her a video call later, and Subin agrees, feeling a bit guilty. A moment later, her mother-in-law calls to check on them as well. Subin repeats the same lie, saying Yejun is in the shower. She hopes neither of them will suspect anything. After the calls, she puts her phone down and sighs, feeling a bit stressed but also relieved that the lies were believed. Both of them decide to go out together and take some pictures to avoid any suspicion. They stroll around Waikiki Beach, snapping photos of the beautiful scenery. Subin and Yejun take selfies together, making sure to look like a happy couple. They even call their parents to show that they're having a good time, chatting briefly to put their minds at ease. After they finish taking pictures, they sit down at a cozy restaurant for a meal. The atmosphere is pleasant, and the food is delicious. Subin starts to relax and enjoy herself. But soon Yejun stands up and says he's ready to leave. He tells her he can finally breathe now that their little act is done. Subin watches as he walks out of the restaurant, feeling a mix of relief and loneliness. Left alone at the table, she takes a deep breath and looks around. She decides to make the most of her time there. She orders another dish and tries to savor the moment. The next morning, both Subin and Yejun want to go out for breakfast. They end up at the same cafe, and Subin sits down at Yejun's table. Yejun looks annoyed and asks why she's sitting there, telling her to find another table. He says he's going to choke on his food if he has to eat with her there. Subin smirks and says he idolizes her too much, which is why he can't eat properly in her presence. Yejun rolls his eyes and asks what she wants. She reminds him that they didn't call his grandparents together yesterday, and they must be wanting to hear from them. Subin calls Grandma and Grandpa and asks if they can see them. She tells them they are having breakfast. Grandma comments that she can only see veggies on Yejun's plate, joking that it won't give him the stamina he needs at night. Subin bursts into laughter and reassures Grandma not to worry, saying she has another plate with plenty of meat for him. She then gently reminds Grandma to focus on her treatment and promises that they will visit her as soon as they get back. They continue their breakfast, chatting casually and making sure to keep up appearances for the sake of the call. After they hang up, Subin feels a bit more relaxed, glad that at least the grandparents are happy and reassured. Even if their relationship is complicated, she wants to make sure their families are content and at ease. Subin sees Yejun eating from her plate and says, "Didn't you just say this plate was for me?" He looks up, a bit surprised, and replies that she didn't actually mean it and he knows it. Annoyed, Subin gets up to leave and tells him to go get his own plate. Yejun smirks and says that her attitude is a far cry from the charm she shows his grandparents, but he's glad she's doing a good job. He adds that it's hard to believe she used to be dead set against the idea. Subin thinks to herself that she can enjoy this trip just fine on her own, but as she walks around, she feels more self-conscious than usual. She notices couples and groups everywhere and wonders why she feels like the only single person here. It bothers her that her first trip is with Yejun, someone she barely knows and isn't genuinely close to. Determined to make the best of it, Subin decides to take some pictures. She doubts Yejun's family will really care about them, but it gives her something to do. She captures the beautiful scenery and interesting sights, trying to focus on enjoying the experience for herself. And now for the most important part of the trip, a cruise, which has been on Subin's bucket list for a long time. As she boards the boat, she notices couples everywhere, which makes her feel a bit lonely. Despite that, she has an incredible time, enjoying the beautiful sights and the relaxing atmosphere. The tour guide recommends snorkeling, and Subin decides she'll give it a try tomorrow. She thinks about how much her parents would love this place and feels a bit guilty that she's the only one who gets to enjoy it. Later, she runs into Yejun, who asks if she's having fun alone. She confidently tells him about her boat cruise and he seems surprised that she went by herself. Subin points out that there wasn't anyone else to go with her and mentions how she was surrounded by couples everywhere. She shares her plans for snorkeling the next day and talks about how she's trying to make the most of her trip. Subin tells Yejun she didn't have a choice but to go alone and that she's just trying to make the most of her time in Hawaii. He asks if she's planning to go out alone tomorrow too. She replies, yes, and wonders why he's asking. He then asks where she's going, and she tells him she'll be heading to the bay. Subin wishes she could spend the whole month in Hawaii, a luxury she couldn't even imagine in her 20s. As she strolls along, she takes a few pictures, capturing the beauty around her. Just as she's about to pick up her hat that fell, she slips. As she's regaining her balance, she sees someone. It turns out to be Yejun. Subin asks him what he's doing there, and he replies that she needs more than just selfies. He explains that they need to make it look like they had a good time for their parents, who will be expecting pictures. They end up taking some pictures together, capturing moments that look happy and relaxed. Afterward, Yejun reminds her to follow all the environmental protection regulations while she's at the bay. When Subin arrives at the bay, she notices once again that she's the only single person there. Feeling a bit out of place, she decides to catch up with Yejun. Thinking she's a good swimmer, she's surprised when Yejun offers to teach her how to do it right. He starts by checking her gear and making sure everything is in place. Yejun gives her tips and shows her the proper techniques. Subin listens carefully, eager to learn and improve. She follows his instructions and soon finds herself swimming more confidently. Subin tells Yejun he acts like he's such a better swimmer than she is. He confidently says he is. He instructs her to bite down and put a lot of pressure on her lips, explaining that's why water came out of her nose before. She insists she's biting down as hard as she can. Yejun advises her not to flare her nose, or water will go straight in. Subin practices and proudly says she can do it now. He hands her flippers to put on. Yejun tells her to relax her body and move her legs gently back and forth instead of kicking hard. She follows his instructions and soon gets the hang of it. Under the water, she sees a clownfish and beautiful coral reefs. She wants to dive deeper but feels too scared to take off her life vest. They both enjoy snorkeling until they get tired. Back on shore, Subin says she's getting hungry and asks what they should eat. Yejun suggests they find a nice place nearby to grab a bite and unwind after their fun day in the water. They head off together, looking forward to a good meal and some more relaxing time. Subin asks if she should just get instant noodles back at the hotel. Yejun suggests they go to the shrimp truck instead. She notices the convertible and asks if he rented it. He confirms, and she excitedly asks for a ride. He teases her about taking the shuttle, but she insists she's always wanted to ride in a convertible. As they drive, she exclaims that the ride is amazing. Later, she says she's tired and suggests they head back to the hotel. She then asks if he knows what she's thinking. He playfully replies that he knows nothing and isn't going anywhere. Subin asks if he can read her mind, then mentions there's one place she wants to visit before they call it a day. Subin mentions she heard there's a pineapple plantation nearby and suggests they visit. Yejun, looking uninterested, says he's not going and tells her to stop acting like a child. Subin insists that she just wants to try their pineapple ice cream because she's heard it's really good. Yejun argues that she can have pineapple ice cream in Korea too, and it will taste the same no matter where she eats it. Feeling frustrated, Subin tells him she's come a long way to be here and he's being inconsiderate. She explains that there's a reason people say you should try black pork in Jeju. It tastes better there. She's very serious when it comes to food and believes that trying local specialties is part of the experience. She tells him that even though she knows she can get pineapple ice cream in Korea, she really wants to taste it at the plantation here in Hawaii. She feels it's different and special because it's part of the local culture. Subin tries to persuade Yejun by explaining how important these little experiences are to her. She talks about how much she's been looking forward to trying the pineapple ice cream in its place of origin. She says that tasting the ice cream here is part of the adventure and makes the trip more memorable. She adds that they've already done a lot of things his way, and it would be nice to do something she's excited about. Yejun still insists that he's not going to the pineapple plantation. Subin begs him, calling him stubborn. He tells her she has 3 seconds to get into the car. Reluctantly, she gets in and they drive to the plantation. When they arrive, he stops the car and gets the pineapple ice cream for her. He tells her she has 3 seconds to take it. She asks herself if she's dreaming and then thanks him. She says he acts tough but still cares. Reflecting, she thinks if she had to pick her most memorable day in Hawaii, it would be the one she spent with Yejun. She says goodbye to Hawaii, knowing it's time to face reality. When they arrive in Korea, Yejun suggests they visit his family first. Subin, feeling exhausted, asks if they can go another time. He insists they should go now so they won't have to stay for dinner. He explains that if they stop at his parents' place quickly, they can visit her parents afterward and then relax tomorrow. She asks Yejun if he's doing this for her sake. He shakes his head and says, no, that this is how he prefers it. He adds that it feels less awkward being around her parents this way. When they arrive at her parents' house, Subin hands over the gifts she bought for her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law smiles, takes the bag, and thanks Subin for it, saying she likes it very much. Subin wonders if the woman misses her son at all. Yejun's sister, Yena, then opens her gift. Yena looks at the bag and wonders why it's so old-fashioned, thinking it's not suitable for a high schooler. She suggests that if Subin isn't aware of current trends, she should just give money. Subin starts to explain the design, mentioning it's vintage and unique. Before she can finish, Yejun jumps in to say he chose the bag. Yena, surprised, comments that he should have mentioned it earlier and understands why it's so classic. She decides to try it out with her clothes, thinking it might look cool after all. As they drive back home, Yejun talks about how his youngest sister is a bit spoiled and asks for understanding. She assures him not to worry about it. He mentions that his family can be challenging to get to know, especially for someone new. She smiles and reassures him that she'll be fine, acknowledging that everyone has their quirks and she'll get used to them. As they drive back home, Yejun starts explaining things in more detail. He says that when he mentioned his family might be tough for a girl like her, he meant someone who has been raised with love and care, someone who hasn't had to deal with difficult people very often. He tells her that his father was the one who pushed him to get a fiancé, and only his dad knows about their fake marriage. This means his dad doesn't expect anything from her, so there's no need to try and impress him. He continues to say that the same goes for his mom. She doesn't have high expectations, and there's no need to go out of her way to make a good impression. Yejun then explains that his brother isn't much of a talker. He usually keeps to himself and doesn't engage in a lot of conversations, so she won't have to worry about having to talk to him much. This might make things easier for her, since she won't have to worry about awkward conversations or trying to get along with someone who prefers to be quiet. Then, Yejun shifts the conversation to his sister. He tells her that he is the only normal person in his family, and from what Yena has seen, he is the only one his sister listens to. Yena laughs and jokes that his sister must acknowledge his authority as the big brother. Yejun laughs too and says it's probably just because of his good looks. This makes Yena smile, and they both relax a little. When they get home, Yejun mentions that they need to write a memorandum. He explains that apart from the legal stuff, they need to agree on some basic rules for living together. He believes it's important to set some ground rules to avoid misunderstandings and ensure they both know what to expect from each other. Yena asks if they really have to do it today, sounding a bit tired. Yejun nods and says it's best to get it out of the way since it's their first day together. Enjoying this recap so far? Comment Subin for part 2. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a lot. Until next time, ciao!